Are the legends true? Do witchers usually demand that which you find at home, yet did not expect?
Not quite, Your Grace. Law of surprise, it's something we invoke at times, but rarely. Usually we just take gold.
Disappointing. This law sounds rather romantic. On the other hand, on returning to the palace, we would likely find impatient petitioners or a set of sample fabrics for a new dress. Poor rewards both. I fear you'd not have much use for any of the surprises we are likely to come upon.
Welcome back to another Witcher lore video, guys. So I saw a suggestion from this user the other day, and I thought to myself that is actually a really good idea, as I personally found this part of the lore quite confusing to begin with. So I've looked this over a lot, and I think that I've got a pretty solid conclusion on what this is. So anyway, today's video is going to be on the Lore of Surprise. So to begin with, I just want to say that the Lore of Surprise is an integral part of the Witcher story, as it is the custom that actually drew together Ciri and Geralt, which are arguably the two main characters of the books. This custom in the Witcher universe is said to be an incredibly old custom, as in it's something that every human probably knows about or was told about at some point in their life. So contrary to I imagine what a lot of you will believe, the Lore of Surprise is not only used by witchers. It is pretty much used by every human in the Witcher universe, as it is said to be as old as humanity itself. It would probably be very difficult to find a human within the Witcher universe that doesn't know about this custom. It's pretty much present throughout every culture within the Witcher universe. So this law dictates that a man who is saved by another is expected to offer his saviour something whose nature is unknown to both of them. This means that the Lore of Surprise does not necessarily only apply to children. It is completely random what, I suppose you could say, what prize the saviour gets, as it's unknown to both of them. For example, there are two requests within the Lore of Surprise, and the first one is the first thing that comes to greet you. And that means, say for example, a witcher were to save a man's life and then return home, and then the man's child came up to him and said, "Welcome home, Dad," or say if he were to even save someone else's life, a woman, anything, then they were to come home and say, "Welcome home," then the witcher would have claimants of that child, and destiny has said that that will be his. And it's not just witchers that this applies to, anyone can pretty much call on the Lore of Surprise if they wish. With the witchers, it's just a little bit more reinforced because they could use force to, reinforce this law. And the second, which is the most commonly used one by witchers, I'd say, is to ask what you find at home yet don't expect. And this could literally be anything. The man may return home to find that his wife has bought a new dog that day at the market, and then the witcher would have that dog. Or, for example, say the man was a soldier who hadn't been home for years, and then he returns home to find that at that time his wife had had a child, she was pregnant when he'd left for war, the witcher then has that child. Or the wife just may be pregnant, and then he may take that child. And it could even be, vice versa. The wife could return home and see that the man is taken in a war orphan. It honestly works either way. It's pretty much whatever you return home to and think, why is that here? So they're the two aspects of this lore, but there's so much more to it than just that. So I just want to quickly talk about how this lore has been used within the Witcher universe, as in our main characters and what we know about how it's affected them. So just as a quick warning to those of you who haven't read the books and plan to, we're going to get into book spoiler territory now, so click off if you don't want to get any of that. Okay, I think I've given you enough time. So, the examples involving Geralt include one that you'll probably all know, and that was to do with Parvetta. So Dunny, who was actually Emir, rescued Rogner of Sintra, who was a king. He saved his life. And he invoked the Lore of Surprise when the king said, "You can have whatever you want," and that turned out to be his daughter Parvetta. And after 15 years, whilst Geralt has been hired to defend the daughter, he returns to Sintra and demands the daughter. But it turned out that he was a werewolf, and after Geralt cures him of his curse, he says you can have whatever you want, and Geralt yet again invokes the Lore of Surprise. And this turned out to be Dunny's lover's daughter, who was still in her womb, Ciri. It was of course obviously Dunny and Parvetta's daughter in her womb though. So Geralt had claimants to Ciri now. So later on in the books, Geralt saves a merchant known as Yerga, and then he invokes the Lore of Surprise when the merchant says you can have whatever you want. They return home to find that his wife is taken in a war orphan, and this is Ciri after Sintra was invaded. And they're pretty much the major events surrounding the Lore of Surprise with Geralt, and it's very interesting because you can see that it clearly does seem to have some bearing, or it's just very major coincidences that Geralt claimed Ciri for the Lore of Surprise twice. And And you may be thinking, why do people accept the law of surprise? Say if they didn't want to give up their child, surely they couldn't be forced. And this is the problem, is because within the Witch universe, there does seem to be actual consequences for not continuing with the law of surprise, or at least legends have told people that, so they're too terrified not to. And you've got to consider that this game is set in, which I would say is at medieval times, Dark Ages time, and people really believe in God, and they believe in gods, and they believe that that is the way in the world works. Barely anyone is an atheist, and they believe that there will be consequences if they don't follow traditions. So that's why people follow this law of surprise. For example, there's the Legend of Sevillana, and she was somebody who became the Queen of Metina with the help of the gnome Rumpelstiltskin, which is obviously a reference to Rumpelstiltskin, and in return she promised that she would give him her firstborn child, and when he actually came to get the reward, she refused, and by using spells she forced him to actually leave, but not long after that, both her and her child were said to have died of the plague. So there is actual consequences for this, or at least there supposedly is, for not accepting your destiny. Anyway guys, I said today's video was going to be a short video, but I hope you've all learnt something new, or at least maybe you're a bit less iffy about the law of surprise and you understand it more, as I certainly am. And if you already knew all this and you just watched it for fun, then thank you for watching and I hope you've enjoyed it, and the same to everyone else. As always, be sure to go and follow my Twitter guys, I do updates on there. If you followed on there already, thank you so much, it's very kind of you guys. I like to post stuff on there. For example, I hit 20,000 subscribers recently, which is just crazy. I said a big thank you on there, I said thank you in the Discord. You guys are all awesome about that, so thank you so much. Also, be sure to go and follow me on Twitch, I do games on there, and I'm going to try and do more soon. I'm thinking of playing Vampire on there. It's actually really fun. I've played it in my spare time and I'm having a lot of fun in it. There's been a lot of mixed reviews, but honestly, I'm going to say that I quite enjoy it. It's got this very creepy kind of setting to it, and I quite enjoy it, honestly. At least so far. And as always, thank you so much to the Patreon pledges. You guys are just the best. Thank you so much, guys. All of you have helped me with these videos by just, you know, donating to me. It gives me support because I currently don't have ads on my videos, as YouTube are taking a while to process it. But just even that little bit that I'm getting from YouTube makes me just think that you guys care and you really do like the videos. So it's really kind of you guys to do that, and I'm glad to put you at the end of every single one of these videos. Anyway guys, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.